You're a normal American teenager living a regular life, when a serial killer who hides their identity behind a rubber Halloween costume begins terrorizing the town and threatening the lives of the people you care for. Who is this killer? Why do they seem to have a grudge against you specifically? And most importantly, do you have what it takes to survive? I'm going to explain how you can beat Ghostface by breaking down the story, the mistakes made, and what you should do to defeat Ghostface in the movie Scream. Time out. I want to quickly thank the kind people that take the time to like and comment on my videos. Your likes and comments really help with the YouTube algorithm and growing the channel. Okay, I just need 10 seconds to quickly advertise my online store to you, then I'll start the video. Check out mebomber.com for the funniest clothing on the internet. Mebomber is sure to get you laughs and compliments. MEBOMBER makes a great novelty gift for friends and family. And check out my Patreon if you want to directly show your support. Links in the description. Alright, let's start the video. The movie begins with a teenage girl named Casey picking up a phone call from Ghostface. Casey hangs up the phone thinking it's just some random creep. She's cooking stove popcorn and receives another phone call from Ghostface. Ghostface reveals that he's watching her and threatens to kill her if she hangs up the phone again. The scared girl quickly locks her patio door and front door. Ghostface rings the doorbell and the girl freaks out. Casey lies that her big tough boyfriend is in the house to try and scare the killer into leaving her alone. Ghostface somehow knows her boyfriend's name, tells her to turn on the patio lights, and she sees her boyfriend duct taped to a chair. Ghostface asks her a trivia question, which she gets wrong, so he cuts open her boyfriend's stomach. Casey breaks down crying. Ghostface throws a chair through the patio door. Casey runs out the house and sees her parents' car driving up the road. Ghostface sees her, chases her, catches up to her, and stabs her to death before she can make it to her parents. Alright, let me explain how you can survive. Men on average are faster than women, because their legs consist of about 80% muscle and larger fast twitch muscle fibers, compared to only about 60% muscle in a woman's leg. Casey lives in a rural area where the nearest neighbor is a mile away, so running out the house and challenging the male killer to a foot race is a bad idea. The movie takes place in the fictional town of Woodsboro, California. The average police response time in California varies by city, however most fall within the range of around 4 to 7 minutes. The best decision would have been to grab whatever weapon you have available in the house, hide inside a room with a door lock, barricade the door, and call the police. Back to the story. Police and news reporters show up to the high school to investigate and report on the teenage girl and her boyfriend's murder. The group of friends slash main characters on their lunch break are discussing the murders. School ends and Sydney is back home watching the local news talk about the recently murdered high schoolers, during which the reporter compares it to the 1 year ago forced intercourse murder of Maureen, who was Sydney's mother. Sydney fell asleep and is woken up by a phone call from Ghostface. Sydney thinks it's just a prank phone call until Ghostface pops out of a closet with a knife. Sydney wrestles with Ghostface on the floor and kicks him in his balls. Ghostface rolls over in pain and Sydney runs away. Ghostface chases Sydney up the stairs. Sydney makes it inside a room and locks Ghostface out. Ghostface is only able to force the room door partially open because it's being prevented from fully opening by a closet door positioned behind it at an angle. Sydney tries to call the police but the phone line has been cut. Sydney uses her computer to contact 911. Ghostface disappears. A second later, her boyfriend Billy climbed up the ladder to her room to hang out. Sydney tells Billy what just happened with the killer inside her house. This girl handled the situation perfectly and essentially took my earlier advice of blockading and hiding inside a room for the few minutes that it typically takes Californian police to respond. A cell phone falls out of Billy's pocket. Back in the mid to early 90s, cell phone use was not as commonplace as it is now, so the fact that Ghostface used the cell phone to call Sydney and Billy having just dropped his cell phone, plus the suspicious timing of Billy's arrival, makes him look suspicious. Sydney now thinks Billy may be the killer and she runs away from him. Sydney stumbles into the police at her front door, who have the Ghostface costume that the killer discarded. Billy is arrested on suspicion of being the killer. Sydney is at the police station giving her report. Billy is being interrogated by a sheriff who plans to connect him to the crimes by checking his cell phone records. DNA testing as a way to identify people became a thing in the early 80s and entered the US legal system in 1987, so I'm puzzled why the police in this 90s movie are not testing the Ghostface costume they found at Sydney's house for Billy's DNA. Sydney spends the night at her friend Tatum's house, whose brother is a police officer. Sydney receives a phone call from Ghostface. Ghostface mocks Sydney about putting her innocent boyfriend Billy in jail before hanging up. Next morning during breakfast, Sydney watches a news report on a guy named Cotton, who was convicted of murdering Sydney's mother and is appealing his death penalty sentence. Tatum's older brother named Dewey, who's a police officer, tells Sydney that Billy was released from jail because his cellular bill did not show records of him making the phone calls that would have connected him to the crimes. Sydney runs into Billy in her high school's hallway. She apologizes for falsely accusing him, and they're back to being boyfriend-girlfriend. Sydney's in the bathroom when Ghostface pops out of a stall, but she manages to evade him and runs for help. The principal announces on the PA system that the school is canceling classes until further notice. Sydney's friend Stu thanks her for whatever she did to get school canceled and invites her to a house party he's throwing to celebrate no longer having classes. Ghostface pops out from behind a door and stabs the principal to death in his office. There's no way to survive this death. The average reaction time for a human to a visual stimulus is 1/4 of a second. By the time the principal managed to completely turn his head around to see what was behind him, Ghostface's knife was already inside of him, so there was no time to even mentally process what was happening, let alone react, before he was being stabbed to death. The police discussed the facts that just came in from the phone company that implicates Sydney's father as the person that made the phone calls to the victims. Dewey drops Tatum and Sydney off at Stu's house party. He plans on providing security in case Ghostface shows up at the gathering. The students are having a good time dancing and drinking alcohol. Gail, the ambitious journalist, attends Stu's house party uninvited because she thinks Ghostface might attack this gathering, and she wants to be the first person to report on the situation if he does. Tatum goes to the garage to grab some beers. The door leading back into the house gets locked by Ghostface. Tatum tries to leave through the garage door, then Ghostface appears and recloses the garage before she can exit. Tatum walks right up to Ghostface thinking this is a prank. Ghostface grabs Tatum's arm and cuts it with a knife. Tatum realizes this is the real killer and tries to escape through an opening for dogs in the garage door. Tatum gets stuck in the garage's dog door. Ghostface opens the garage and Tatum gets her neck crushed by the garage door. Alright, let me explain how you can survive. You're at a house party, so loud music may cover up your yelling for help. There's likely going to be people outside the house who are chatting or coming and going. Draw the attention of other partygoers because there's safety in numbers, and an unexpected audience typically causes criminals to abandon their plans and run away. Garage doors are structurally weak and can be easily kicked open. Even if you don't manage to kick the door down completely on the first try, the damage to the garage would draw the attention of outside partygoers who can help or scare the killer away. Back to the story. Sydney and her boyfriend are hanging out in the room upstairs when Ghostface quietly opens the door and stabs Billy to death. Alright, let me explain how you can survive. The average reaction time for humans to a visual stimulus is 0.25 or 1/4 of a second, and an audio stimulus is 0.17 seconds. Sydney was facing the door while talking to Billy. In the movie, the time that passed between the first sign that the room door was being quietly opened in the background to Billy finally being stabbed was over 11 seconds. There's no way Ghostface should have been able to slowly open the door, then cover the 2 to 3 feet between the room entrance and the bed that the couple was sitting on to stab Billy without anybody noticing or reacting before it's too late. If you were in this scenario, you would have had more than enough time to scream and football run through the knife-wielding killer the few feet outside the room necessary to get the attention and help of other partygoers. Back to the story. Sydney runs out the room, runs down the stairs, and stumbles into Ghostface, who's now in front of her, blocking the staircase. I don't understand why Sydney wasn't screaming at this point to draw the attention and aid of the remaining partygoers that were downstairs. Sydney runs back upstairs into a room and locks the door. Sydney climbs out a window to escape the killer that just broke the room's door open. Ghostface pushes Sydney off the roof and she lands on a boat. Sydney gets up with only minor injuries, runs away, and hides behind a nearby fence. Officer Dewey hears screaming and runs inside the house with his gun ready. Sydney sees Dewey's police car, leaves her hiding spot, and runs toward the house, screaming his name for help, which is a very stupid decision that alerts Ghostface to her location. Dewey opens the front door and then collapses with a knife in his back. Ghostface appears in the front door and chases Sydney. Sydney gives Ghostface the slip and doubles back to Dewey's dead body to grab his gun when her friends Randy and Stu appear, both claiming the other person is the killer. Sydney doesn't know who to trust, so she locks them both outside the house. Turns out Billy isn't dead. He stumbles out a room and rolls down the stairs. Sydney helps Billy get on his feet, then he asks her to give him the gun she's holding. Billy opens the front door, and Randy runs inside claiming Stu is the killer. Billy gives an evil smile, and then shoots Randy. Billy licks the blood on his hands, reveals that it's actually red corn syrup, and that he was never really stabbed. Stu walks inside the room and Sydney begs him to help her. Stu pulls out a voice changer and reveals that him and Billy are both Ghostface. Sydney tries to escape through the kitchen, but she's trapped by the two co-conspirators. They revealed that they were the ones who killed Sydney's mother a year ago, and they framed the guy on death row we saw earlier on the news named Cotton. They killed Maureen because she had an affair with Billy's dad, which led to his parents getting a divorce, and that resulted in Billy's mother cutting all contact with him and his father. Stu drags Sydney's tied up dad into the kitchen and brags about how they're going to kill and frame her dad for all these murders. Billy and Stu stab each other with a knife to make it look like they were attacked by Sydney's dad, so they can pretend to be the only survivors. Gail, the news reporter, appears with a pointed gun at Billy and Stu. She heard everything they said and stole the gun that Billy carelessly left on the table. Gail can't shoot the gun because it's on safety, so Billy uses the opportunity to knock the newswoman out with a Spartan kick to the chest. Sydney took advantage of the distraction Gail provided to escape the kitchen. In a role reversal, Sydney contacts the killers on the house phone to taunt them and boast that she's already called the police and reported their conspiracy. Billy has a mental breakdown and begins tearing up the house looking for Sydney. Sydney, who's now wearing the Ghostface costume, pops out of a closet and spears Billy in the chest with the pointy tip of an umbrella. Sydney takes off the costume and grabs the gun that the seemingly lifeless Billy just dropped. Stu appears and tackles Sydney to the ground. Sydney manages to grab a nearby vase and smashes it on Stu's head to knock him unconscious. Billy was pretending to be dead. He tackled Sydney while her guard is down and chokes her. Gail appears again with another gun and shoots Billy off of Sydney. Billy tries to get up and attack Sydney again, but Sydney shoots him in the head. Sydney unties her dad. The police and paramedics show up on the scene. Gail is the first journalist to report this breaking news story like she wanted. That's the end of the movie. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. I got more how to beat and why you wouldn't survive videos coming up for your favorite movies and TV shows, so stay tuned. Have a fantastic day and I'll see you on the next video.